Black Ops 4's content season has been different, to say the least. In terms of release schedules and all things considered, it's much different than that of previous years. We don't have those 2.5 months between multiple map drops and sort of pack style, but instead we have a little bit more, at least attempted, spread out across the year, so there's not as much wait time in between, even though each drop might not be as significant. And while we still may have a ton of content left in the first year of content season for Black Ops 4, mainly 8 more DLC maps for MP, as well as 2 more maps for zombies, and another Blackout character or 2 here with this, what if I told you that Treyarch may actually already be in the planning phases for the second year of content for Black Ops 4? They're outing in the 2020 year as opposed to just simply this first year of content. Today we're going to break that down and talk a little bit about what information is out there on hand and what we may be able to infer in the other portions of Black Ops 4 in the second year of content. It's definitely weird to think about, especially because we're not even 6 months through the life cycle of the game yet, but it's information that I wanted to give to you because it's certainly interesting to think about. So I said, let's jump right into it. The information today comes from the Woo Lads, a group of, to my knowledge, quite credible people with inside information on pretty much everything Call of Duty. They've talked about MW4, they've talked about a lot of the stuff that we can maybe expect to see here in the upcoming entry into the franchise. They've accurately predicted tons of things that we've already seen happen between the last couple of titles, not just Black Ops 4 and such. And so I take their word with a little bit more weight than somebody that may have just been on 4chan for a day or two, or a Reddit post that was made by somebody creating an account 2 days ago. But as with all of this, we're never going to get a full official confirmation, but the information comes as follows. In a few tweets they mentioned, we keep getting asked about zombies in 2019 and the 2020 season. Zombies will continue on Black Ops 4 outside of the first Black Ops pass. Chaos is finished for this season, but not for Black Ops 4. Aether will be the rest of the season, as you know. Maps in production will be listed in the following tweet, to which they followed up with Nuketown, Call of the Dead, Green Run or Transit, Die Rise, and Buried. These maps are planned to have their own Gauntlet, Grief, and possibly Turned modes. The second season of Black Ops 4 Zombies will have 2 more Chaos maps with some of the aforementioned Aether maps. The final tweet in this info thread was 5 and Mob of the Dead may be faithfully remastered too instead of reimagined as they currently are in Black Ops 4. This is subject to developmental change. Call of the Dead is planned to be a faithful remaster, whereas Transit is planned to be more unique. Now, of course, we are so early out, and even they said it themselves, that these things are subject to change, but that is the plans as of right now, which is honestly quite curious and interesting, I think, to think about. Because Zombies, of course, is its own diehard community. It is something that doesn't get as much content as, say, MP or Blackout, especially within Black Ops 4 so far, or at least the consistent updates haven't necessarily been up to par with those other 2 modes, probably because they are larger in development. But it is interesting to hear that we'll maybe be getting a second Black Ops Pass season, especially for Zombies, to introduce more maps, remasters, and reimaginations, and sort of like an adjusted Zombies Chronicles. I don't know if it'd be something that launches all at once, or if it's going to be something that is intermittently introduced over maybe 1 map every other month or something like that. Regardless, it's definitely curious, and it conveniently runs in line with the idea that we won't have zombies in a theoretical MW4 coming up later this year from Infinity Ward. That rumor that we won't have necessarily a sequel to IW Zombies to look forward to, Zombies players and fans then will have the ability to continue the story for Black Ops 4 into a secondary year of content, both in terms of not only the maps that come back, but also the lore and the backstory that continues on for what's been a decade at this point. So I'm definitely interested to see how this plays out, but it's an interesting topic of discussion, especially for Zombies fans, but also it ultimately opens up the possibilities of maybe another 3-year entry for Black Ops 4. While I don't think that Black Ops 4 is the same community standing as Black Ops 3 did, there seems to be way more controversy this time around compared to Black Ops 3, but we may end up seeing the return to a consistently updated or at least somewhat regular basis for this title in the upcoming years. Black Ops 3 wasn't necessarily the only game that had post-extracurricular content past the launch of the following title. That started all the way back in Advanced Warfare and the continual drops for a few months of weapons after Black Ops 3 had launched, but Black Ops 3 then set the bar a bit higher in regards to the longevity factor, and it's one we still haven't seen matched to this day, really. Black Ops 3 launched on November 6th of 2015, and the last content drop of actual new introductions of content was June 11th of 2018. Consider that. nearly 3 years of extracurricular content, with revisitations coming back to existing limited time content starting as late as July 31st of 2018 and lasting until August 7th of 2018. So there were things that players could still get, and that was only 2 months before Black Ops 4 even launched. So certainly setting the bar a little bit higher for that longevity factor. And while they might not have been in consistent drops on, say, like a bi-monthly basis or anything, the populace still on Black Ops 3 wasn't abandoned entirely. And that's something that we haven't seen since. Infinite Warfare dropped some weapons throughout the life cycle of World War II, and World War II has recently dropped variants with another content drop of actual brand new weapons still to come, but that seems to be about it. None of those really look to push into a year 3 mark, but Black Ops 4 may be the next title to do that with the introduction of a secondary pass of content, and maybe even, if more sales stay steady, for a little bit longer than just that. But it's entirely too early to consider at this point. The second year, though, seems to already be in progress. But what it's not too early to consider is that maybe we see continual support for things like Blackout as well as even MP going into the 2020 campaign. While I'm sure a lot of players will be jumping on again to see that proverbial MW4 launching later this fall, it's not out of the realms of possibilities to consider players still being on Black Ops 4. Granted, the game has gotten a lot of gruff at points, and rightfully so in some areas, but fans are going to be there. I know that personally, one of my favorite parts about the game of Black Ops 4 and even Call of Duty as a whole recently has been Blackout. I know some of you guys sometimes are bothered by the amount of footage that I put in-game, but I have double my playtime of MP on Blackout. I absolutely love the mode. To me, there's no specialist cheese to die from, there's no spawn camping, none of that stuff. It's just me or my squad using our gun skill and ability to outthink opponents, utilizing, again, nothing but that gun skill, our environment, and our inventory. So especially when it comes to Blackout, I would miss it tremendously, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be the time to say goodbye. In fact, I think that especially with Blackout, being that we see some insiders hinting at a year or 2 of Zombies content, I think there's the full possibility for Blackout to continue to get support as well. The easy assumption is that Blackout will go free to play sometime shortly before launch of the next entry into the franchise, but that's just an assumption. With 2 free-to-play trial periods now in the books, or I guess 1 still in progress, it's an interesting logical theory to believe that that's a precursor to the mode going free to play entirely, especially while the rest of the industry with Battle Royales looks to make waves by consistently updating their games and being free-to-play titles. That's kind of the norm right now, especially in the ever-expanding Battle Royale craze. So while it may upset a few players that paid for the game and that's their main mode, Blackout, at that point the business decision behind it is kind of similar to a season pass model, where you paid for the access for the initial season of content, and after that it's open season and therefore kind of free to play. Not saying that I don't still see the grievances in that, but just saying that would probably be the spin on it. And if there were to be a secondary pass, it could be very comparable to what we see already, with new Blackout characters being added in for a second paid model, maybe just dumped all at once like a Zombies Chronicles, but for Blackout with a bunch of legacy characters. You could add new POIs in, you could end up doing limited time map things like Alcatraz is right now, where it's an entirely different and smaller scale map compared to the overall large Blackout map. There's a lot of possibilities that could happen here, and with something that, honestly, to me, I know this is my personal preference, I think that if it wasn't behind that $60 price point, or I guess right now free to play, if it wasn't behind a paid wall to gain access to that, I think Blackout could honestly thrive compared to other Battle Royales. To me, I think it's one of the most easy to access of tactical Battle Royales. I mean, Fortnite, you gotta learn how to build the Eiffel Tower, Apex Legends, you have to use all your tactical skills, but mix it then in with a class-based hero system. PUBG, well, that's still very clunky if I'm not mistaken, and so on and so forth. So if you just want the easy to learn, easy to manage tactical BR, I think that Blackout does that fantastic. But outside of that, well, MP isn't exactly the highest on the list to expect for major DLC like we could potentially see with the already aforementioned Zombies content, and also the possibilities that maybe Blackout continues on as a free-to-play, consistently updated model. It is probably the easiest assumption for post-season content. I can't say that I'd expect many large-scale DLC maps that are new. We didn't get anything in terms of post-season content in Black Ops 4, but what we did see were seasonal changes to specific maps in Black Ops 3. We saw that we had Fringe Nightfall for Operation Swarm, as well as Redwood Snow for Operation Snowblind, and curiously enough, we ended up having the same scenario with existing maps in Black Ops 4 already. It's very easy to assume that we'll get every so often a seasonal or environmental variation of an existing map post first year content in Black Ops 4. There's still plenty of maps to do right now with the current catalog of maps in Black Ops 4, and with only 4 map variations released so far in around a half-year basis, it seems like that'll leave us with some room come late fall and outside of the main year of content. Additionally, the absolute easiest way to see DLC come to MP after the first year of content is what we've seen in every single game that's offered an entry into year 2, DLC weapons. We saw weapons being added all the way up again until that June 11th mark that we mentioned earlier in the video, and that was nearly 3 years later, so who's to say that that's not out of the realms of possibilities again? We may see things like maybe a contraband stream of some sorts for those DLC weapons, or maybe they're just introduced in a different format. Hopefully not reserves though. I would hate to see that happen. Regardless, that's something to consider as well. Maybe there's additional operations. As for if the game will have the communal support for another full 3 years, that's a discussion for another day. But the possibilities are there, and it seems like Treyarch are already planning for an additional year of support if this inside information is as legit as previous information passed along by the Woo lads. I'm certainly excited for the zombies front of this. I absolutely love Zombies Chronicles, and while unfortunately just given the fact that my time is spent between MP and Blackout now at this point, and I haven't had as much time to give to zombies as compared to previous years, I'm still definitely excited to see if that happens, to jump in and experience maybe a Zombies Chronicles 2.0. I'm quite curious to see how this is executed, but I wanted to give you my thoughts here on it, relay the information firstly, and have a discussion of maybe what a year 2 could look like. So again, really early on in the season to really think about this, but the information came out, wanted to share it with you guys and give you my thoughts. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What would you guys like to see, if at all, anything from a year 2 of Black Ops 4? Are you hoping for any Zombies Chronicles 2.0? Are you hoping for a legacy drop in terms of Blackout? Anything in MP that you'd like to see? But regardless, let me know your thoughts. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to drop a like down below, and of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 4, MP, Blackout, Zombies. We got you covered, the best of updates and news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. So if any of that interests you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, or maybe that link is down there in the description below. Well, that's it. Out of the way. Thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.